Is it just me, or do most office workers spend most of their day pretending to be busy? I'm not complaining and don't make waves. But why should we have to work 40 hours if there's only like 5 hours of actual work to be done? The loudest workaholics also appear to be the least efficient workers. I feel like they're protecting their job as younger people spent their lives with fast-paced video games and smartphones. If I'm wrong or this is just an anecdotal experience, I apologize. I was just curious if I'm alone on this. In my personal experience, the better paying job I've gotten, the less work I do. I was working my hardest at minimum wage whether I wanted to or not. Then you hit positions that pay really well but do a lot of work. Ideally, you would like to be just below that position where you make the most money and do the least amount of work or stress. I personally like working, but not stressing out because of work. Some weeks I'm in Reddit 90% of my day and watching the clock for leave time. Some weeks I'm barely finding time for a piss and staying 6 hours over. Most people barely work but get paid for a full day of work. Just act like you know what you're doing and act like you care if ever approached by superiors, and you should be okay with coasting. I had a job years ago at a marketing place. At the start of my second week I was dropping off some completed work on the boss's desk when he shouted, "You're done all of that already? I haven't even gotten to the ones from last week." He told me to take them back and they were not due until the end of the week. I had been working at a regular pace but actually working the whole time. Then my supervisor came in and told me not to be such an eager beaver and set a reasonable pace so the rest of them don't look bad. That's the day I started playing games on my computer in my office and just looking busy for 80% of my day. They were actually happier after that. I barely worked more than 2 hours a day there, but when I left that job they were devastated and told me they were sad to lose their most efficient employee. This week has been an interesting one because all of the high-ups take the weeks around the holidays off. Know what that means? Almost no pointless meetings for the sake of having meetings. And my work gets done so much earlier in the day when I don't have to spend hours in these meetings. And additional hours preparing for the one dumbass question I'm bound to get in those meetings from some jackoff who makes 5 times as much as I do. It's been a good week. Shush. Play the game, dude. Carry a clipboard. Look like you fit in. When I worked in an office my boss would leave for a week on Thanksgiving. And a week for Christmas to New Year's. Those were the best weeks. I didn't do anything in the office. The computer yuppies are in fact a separate class from the blue collar. But we all need to come together and realize neither is the enemy. It's the people at the very top. But yeah, I think about it a lot. It's in so many jobs. Poor people are expected to work constantly and hard. Rich people are allowed to scroll on FB 75% of their shift. We could already be in a utopia where we all just cycle working like 15 hours a week for the things that matter and destroy all the excess, ruining this world. Some days. This is true. The issue is that the same-sized metaphorical stack of work to be done isn't the same every day. In fact, some days it grows as the day goes on. You may think you're done with work at 1 p.m., but then you could receive a call from a client that demands your immediate attention. For many jobs, you're expected to be available to address those issues during business hours. Oh God, yeah, that was the hardest thing for me to adjust to when I started working in offices. I worked in restaurants in my early 20s where there is always something that has to be done. And if it gets to the point where there aren't things to do, they cut you and send you home. said it was quite shocking to learn that if I did all my work by 2 p.m. I had to sit there until 5. Just because. And if you complain about it you just get more work. Which is good because I would rather do something than do nothing if I have to sit there. A lot of office jobs are required for other office jobs to function. So they need you there to answer questions or whatever if another department or agency has questions about your work. But yeah, it's bad. The day goes so slowly when there is nothing to do. Depends what the pay is like. There are many aspects to this. Off the top of my head, doing intense knowledge work, i.e. office work that's not purely procedural, for 8 hours straight is pretty much impossible unless you're loaded to the hilt with stimulants. Even productive office workers typically have short intense bursts followed by more casual phases. There are a lot of inefficiencies in office work, especially in large orgs, causing delays and frustrations. Yes, there's the adage that there's always something to be done. But if morale sinks, even otherwise motivated workers may start to take extended breaks on the clock and no longer feel like taking the initiative. Office work is often marred by frequent interruptions that break cognitive flow. If a person is constantly interrupted, they'll spend most of the time in the phase where they are trying to build up focus. That wastes a lot of energy and can easily lead to them getting next to nothing done over an entire day. Participating in mandatory meetings that aren't relevant to a worker automatically leads to a loss in productive hours. I'd say for me this is often true. IWFH. And usually work on my own desktop. Majority of the time is on Reddit and surfing the internet. SSSSSSSSSS is shish hush SSSSSSSHHHHH. This is the whole argument for a 30-hour workweek being full-time. Studies show most humans are only their most productive for 5 hours a day. And more time off increases productivity. Alas, the higher-ups and hustle culture are very married to the BS performance theater for 40 hours in office. I work in IT now and, wow, I'm tired. I wish I could just go home when my brain shuts off at 3 p.m. and I'm done with my stuff. I used to work in retail and boy howdy doody did I work way harder back then and I dealt with so much more stress. Retail and service workers deserve such higher paychecks. Leaving the service industry after 20+ years to go to an office took a huge adjustment to doing nothing most of my day. Not a complaint at all. You see, we only get 15 minutes of real actual work done here. Oh my god. I can do my entire day's work in like 2 hours if I wanted to. Pretending to be busy for 8 hours is the most difficult part of my job. LMAO, this is a fair statement. As an admin asked, some days I am so busy that I want to pull my hair out and even getting a text makes me rage. Some days I am so bored that I just stare at the monitor looking at news and just open my email every time my boss walks by to look busy.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.